For the most part of my life, I thought the goal was to build a life that makes sense. The right degrees, the right job, the right relationship, a big group of friends, a life that you would lay down on paper and everyone would nod. And then you would be happy. I built it. I actually built it. And then my life looked like sitting at a desk on a Monday afternoon and looking at the clock. And I hate looking at the clock because it gives me the feeling that I'm wasting my life. And yes, 3 months earlier, when I started a job, it felt different. New faces, new tasks, that little spark that this might be the right job. And for a few weeks it was, I didn't look at the time. But then the spark went quiet. Slowly, so slowly that I couldn't even notice. And here's what made it worse. This was the third job in 3 years where exactly this thing happened. The same excitement and then the same slow, quiet slide back into grey. And that's exactly the part I couldn't explain. Like nothing was really wrong. So what is it? So I always thought that living on autopilot was something super dramatic. Like you're visibly unhappy, but actually I discovered that it's not really like that. I discovered that my life looked super normal. Actually, it looked pretty good. I had a job, I had a relationship, I had some good, really good friends. I really had that life that made sense on paper. And then a life that made sense on paper looks like my alarm goes off, I get up, I drive to my work that sometimes takes longer because of traffic than the actual ride itself. Then I work all day, drive home, go back around 5, quite tired. And in the evening, I sometimes went to football training. If not, I stayed at home, chilled on the couch, scrolled on my phone, watching TV. And then it was time for bed and do it all over again the next day. And on the weekends, I felt this pressure to enjoy my life, to do fun things. But mostly I felt tired and not in a mood to do anything. And maybe also a little empty, but not empty enough to do something about it. And that's the thing for me about an autopilot life. It doesn't really scream at you. It's not really a crisis. It's quiet and it's quite comfortable. I felt comfortable in my autopilot life. And that comfort makes an autopilot life so hard to recognize. Like nothing is really wrong, but deep down inside you're not really satisfied with the life you're living. And because it doesn't happen overnight, not really by an accident, so it's hard to recognize after so many years. So if you asked me at that time how I ended up in that life, I would probably say, I don't know, it just happened. But looking now, I can see it clearly. I can connect some dots. It's just because from the beginning of your life, people are telling you what to do. And that's of course normal, because as a kid, you're not really responsible enough to make your own decisions. But later in life, you go to school, like high school, university. People tell you to get the right degrees, get a nice job. And then I made some choices that weren't really mine. So for example, I took the job that makes sense. The one that looked good and the one that I think people would approve on. Because that kind of felt safe. And honestly, what I always wanted was to create YouTube videos. But every time I got close to taking that a little bit seriously, I talked myself out of it. I didn't trust myself enough. I thought I'm not good enough for that. What if I fail? What if people think I'm cringe? What if I think I'm cringe? So instead, I kept looking for a safe path. My first job was not something that I really wanted, but it paid really well for a first job. My second job, I was like, maybe this one, because this one is marketing and that's what I like. But also there, the spark went quiet. And then the third job, I thought it was definitely this one, because this one is in marketing too, but more variety in tasks and clients. And each time the job wasn't really the problem. The problem was that I was trying to feel fulfilled in a life that I had built around other people's expectations so I could avoid my fears. I lived a life that looked like the right answer to a question that actually nobody asked me. The job wasn't wrong. The life wasn't wrong. It wasn't just mine. And my wake-up call was a breakup. I guess many of you know how awful a breakup can be. And for me, it felt like a completely failure. I didn't like myself and I quite started to panic. What am I supposed to do now? But luckily, time heals. And something unexpected came with it. There was not just pain and fear, but for the first time, in a very long time, this quiet, relieving thought came into my mind. I can do now whatever I want. I hadn't really realized until that moment how much I've been shaping my life around other people. And not because they forced me to, but just because I thought it's something I had to do. Like you compromise a little. You fit your life into someone else's plan. And I think compromising is a good thing. But the way I did it, I stopped asking myself what I really wanted. Because it feels selfish. And I was afraid for losing people. So I kind of became a people pleaser. But then suddenly I was alone. And I was left standing with this open space. And I had no idea what to do with it. It was so terrifying. And it was also weirdly the most free I felt in years. I remember that I was such a victim. Like, why did he do this to me? And at the same time, there was a voice deep down inside that was yelling at me, this is gonna be amazing. So in the end, the breakup forced me to face a question that I've been avoiding. Who am I when I'm not living the life for someone else? And what do I actually really want? It's not that I directly had an answer, but it was the first time that I actually let myself ask it and take a step. And looking back now, I can finally see what it cost me. Because for a long time I was telling myself that I was completely fine. That everything was normal and that it's how it should be. But looking back now, I slowly lost myself. Not really in a dramatic way, but because I didn't lose myself overnight. It was more that I slowly had stopped checking in with myself. And on rare occasions I did. And then I felt that something had to change. But I don't make excuses. Because I was afraid for losing what I had. And the strange thing is, I didn't even know that I gave up on certain dreams until I started to move again. I was forced to move, of course. So I'm quite grateful and thankful that my ex broke up with me, because otherwise I think it would take me much longer to find myself again. And the strange thing is that I didn't even notice that I was drifting away from myself until I start moving again. It's a bit like sitting still for so long in a really comfortable chair, and then you forget how to walk until you take that one step and you're like, this is way better. And my first step was booking a ticket to Thailand to finally go backpacking in Thailand, because that was a dream for me for a long time, but I never dared. I bought it in a moment that I finally decided to stop waiting for the right time or for other people. And that one step showed me something that I hadn't believed in years, that I really could trust myself. And not because everything went perfectly after. It didn't. For the first months, it felt so messy, uncertain, and sometimes super lonely. I'll talk about that in other videos. But I had proven to myself that the fear I've been listening to, that voice that said, you can't do this, you're not good enough, stay where it's safe, that voice was never telling me the truth. So if I could go back in time and I could say one thing to the version that was sitting in the traffic jam every morning on her way to work, it would be this: trust yourself more, take the risk, you can do it. Not in a motivational poster way, I mean it practically. Every time I didn't take the risk, I didn't start a thing, I didn't make the change, it was not because I couldn't, it was because I didn't believe I could. And it turned out that belief was wrong, because little by little I took more risks, started to think more about what I really want for myself, and I took more steps. And through all those small little steps, my self-confidence grew. The thing was, I was waiting for permission to do something, but nobody was going to give me that permission. I had to give that myself. And that's the strange thing about autopilot. It doesn't really feel like a choice. It feels like an absence of choice. Life is just happening to you and you're along for the ride. But at some point, staying on autopilot is a choice too. And the moment I start to realize that I no longer wanted to be an NPC and that I wanted to make a conscious choice in my life on what I really wanted to do, rather than I would do it because it was safe, my life started to look different. I wouldn't say easier, but different in a really good way. And I think I'm going to leave it here for now because I think this is a really good place to sit with it. If something in this video landed for you, I have more on this topic. I made a few videos deeper into the specific parts that I talked about, and I will put the links in my description. And if you're really at this point that you recognize what I'm describing in this video, and you're looking for people that get it too, I started a community for that. It's called One Way Ticket, and it's for all the women that are somewhere in the same process. It's not for the people who have figured it all out. It's people that want to take those little small steps so we can move together out of the autopilot. I will put the link in the description too, and hope to see you in the next one.